Hello, and how are you? Today, our focus is going to be on releasing through specifically the cervical spine area. So think your neck and your upper shoulders, which can be an area of pain or tension for a lot of us. So we just want to approach this thinking more nourishing and relaxing. So we are going to use several different props today to support us in these different shapes. You're going to want at least one of your yoga blocks, maybe two, to make an eventual ramp for our back. You're going to want your MFR balls, but you could also use lacrosse or tennis balls. In addition, and this one's just optional, a sock, because eventually we're going to put them together and conjoin them for some nice release to the back of the neck. A blanket, a bolster, and a strap. So we're actually going to start in a restorative pose just to kind of land in our practice. So for this one, it can be really nice to use your two blocks and your bolster to create an actual ramp of lift for you. So you would place one block on its very lowest setting, and then the other one is going to be on the mid setting just to give yourself some height. Now, obviously, if you need more height, you can raise your blocks on a higher setting, but this one keeps it pretty stable, pretty secure. And then you're going to place your bolster with the top edge on those blocks, giving you a lot of support. And if your other props are in the way or distracting, feel free just to set them off to the side for now. And then it can be nice to have your blanket handy, especially if you would like to drape it over your lap. But we're going to sit in this butterfly posture. So bringing the bottom of the feet together. Now, another thing that can be nice to do with the blanket is to actually wrap it around the feet and then underneath. So I'll show you also from the front. So you have the bottom of the feet together. The blanket goes on the top and then wraps up and underneath. So it gives your feet this nice little support where you'll be able to hold that in place. As you approach your bolster and your ramp, have just a little bit of space between your tailbone and the bolster so we're not bumped up right against it. Taking the hands behind you and then imagine unraveling yourself just one vertebra at a time until you can come all the way down and just release into this supportive ramp. If you're using the blanket on the feet, that should feel really nice and nourishing along the ankles and the feet, just holding you in this bound shape. Notice the sensation through the hips and through the front body as you just relax. Feel that tactile sensation with the entire posterior body, either on the floor or on your bolster. From there, just slowly start to relax the shoulders. Feel maybe more of an opening through the chest, so rather than slumping forward and back, see if we can't just allow the shoulders as they relax to pull us into a little bit more of a heart opening shape. So we feel really, really relaxed and supported. And then the arms can either be on the body if that feels more comfortable, in your lap, or they can just be down by the side. Just find yourself in this shape where you feel you can really just soften the body. As you start to land in this shape, slowly bring your attention or your focus to your breathing. Maybe even noticing where the breath is coming from. If it maybe feels more shallow or limited, staying in the lungs, can we maybe focus on lengthening or deepening that breath into the belly? Can we focus on softening the jaw and allow that softening the jaw to start to relax through the neck as well, as that's going to be our main focus for the rest of the class. And another big thing that can help with neck and shoulder tension is our actual emotional state. So, if you're feeling extra anxious or stressed, I invite you to really focus on the breathing throughout class today. When we have that emotional response, our body responds in tensing up. So, see if you can use your breath as a way to soften the surrounding tissues throughout the neck and the shoulders. And we'll stay here for just a couple more breaths. And then, whenever you're ready, just bring your hands towards the floor, perhaps framing the hips. And then imagine you can start to unravel the vertebra through the neck only one at a time until you can gaze down towards your feet. And then slowly start to peel up one vertebra at a time throughout the rest of the spine until you can come all the way off your prop. And then maybe it feels good to stay in stillness, or maybe it feels good to take a couple neck circles as you come out of that. And just be, again, really gentle and nourishing. And then we're going to come into some self MFR work. So all you're going to need is your hands, but because we're going to be sitting, it might be nice to take your blanket and prop just that edge underneath your tailbone, which can help us sit a little bit more upright, which is obviously going to help into the neck. So we're going to start in the trapezius. So this little muscle here that connects right above your clavicle. So if you were to feel the bone of your collarbone, there's this big old chunk of meat right above that. And that's really what we're going to want to be palpitating. So we're just going to use the three, maybe the pinky finger, depends on how it feels, but the three main fingers. Go ahead and come right along that rim where the neck and that trapezius come together. Lean your head towards that shoulder and then push the tissue down. So apply some pressure. Hold that pressure as you lean your head away. And then as you bring your head back in, release the pressure and then move down just a little bit. Again, pinch, and it might be nice to use your other hand, depends on how it feels. Push the tissue down, hold that tension as you come to the other side. As you come back in, release the tension, move down just a little bit more, push through the tissue, bring your head the opposite direction. And again, just make sure you're feeling this nice and nourishing. If at any point you feel any sharp pain, make sure to back off. Now come just right in front of that trapezius in that corner where it connects with the neck. Again, push, lean the head, push the tissues down, and then lean your head away and feel just that gentle compression pushing into that trapezius area. And again, move down just a little bit, let go, and then push through the tissue and lean away. And then find that outside edge. And then we want to do the same thing on the other side. So finding that big chunk of meat, maybe you pinch the entire chunk, and then come right in that corner where it connects with your neck there. Lean your head in, then push down on the tissue, and then gently lean your head away. So you're in charge of the resistance. Just make sure again that it feels really, really nourishing and rehydrating rather than any kind of pain. And then just move to a little bit of a different spot. And again, Just trying to get the entire trapezius area. And keep in mind too that the trap goes a little bit behind us too. So we might want to move just a little bit behind the area, push down, and then lean away as well. And then once you've kind of evened that out through both sides, next we're going to want to target the SCM. So find this little spot. So right where your collarbone meets your sternum, you've got this little hollow right here. Imagine you're wearing like a diamond necklace where the diamond would lie. We're gonna place our palm right on that area. So if I'm coming from the left, I walk along the clavicle, along that collarbone. I feel that connection with the sternum, and then I just lay my palm flat on that area. I use my other hand to push a little bit of resistance, and then think of pulling that skin just down towards your torso and then leaning your head in the opposite direction. So all the palm is doing is pulling and tugging on that skin a little bit so we can feel this stretch radiating from where we are up through the neck. And then slowly release and then take it back over. And again, if you feel any pulling on the skin, it might be nice to, as you come into this, push up first. So you give your skin a little slack and then pull the skin down. And we'll do about one more there, and then we'll make sure we hit the other side as well. So then slowly release. Again, on the other side, so we're going to find right where that clavicle and that sternum meet and place our palm right there. Other hand just comes on top, and keep it nice and flat so we're not pushing with the fingertips or anything like that. Pull gently down on that skin. So you might already feel a pretty big sensation through that side of the neck. And maybe that's enough and that's where you want to stay. Or maybe you can slowly start to lean your head away from the hand and really feel that release throughout the lateral sides of the neck. And take just a couple more. And then we're going to hit one more spot with our hands before we start to move into our MFR ball. So we're going to want to find the scalene. So I'm going to exaggerate it just so you can see on camera, but here's the trapezius and here's the collarbone. In between the two are your scalenes. So we just want to be really gentle as we fall into this area because it starts to get connected to some of the arteries in the neck. So imagine you're right in front of that trapezius and behind the collarbone. Now this one, it's important to push up on the skin first and then tug down so you feel like you're not pulling or yanking on the skin or anything like that, and then gently lean the head away. And you can move a little bit further out, and again, just make sure you push up on the skin first and then pull down so you give your skin a little bit of slack. And then whenever you're done, slowly release. We're doing the same thing on the other side. So think we're trying to really go behind the clavicle, behind the collarbone. Lift up on the skin first, then pull down, then lean your head away. And it'll feel like really like tendony and ligament-y. You'll feel these little tiny, almost like ropes underneath the fingers rather than a big chunk of muscle like it feels on the trapezius. One more, somewhere behind that collarbone. And then slowly release. From here, we're just gonna rotate side to side very gently through the neck. And then when you come back through center, we're just gonna flex, go through flexion, so ear to shoulder. Now I'll pause for a moment and notice where you feel it. So if you feel it on the side where the ear is coming to the shoulder, there might be a sign that there's some compression issues that we want to work on. If you feel it through the side that's nice and long, obviously that would be a little different. And we just want to rotate the head in a little bit way to take off some of that tension or that pulling sensation. And then slowly come up through center and just do that on the other side as well. And again, just notice how it feels in your neck. If you feel it on the compression side or on the extension side. And then slowly reach up, and then we're going to find some flexion. So think chin to chest, and then very gentle extension, chin away from chest. And just notice how this feels also in the neck as you gently move through flexion and extension. And then slowly release. And we are going to move onto our back. So for this one, you're going to want to have one of your blocks handy. The other one can be kind of off to the side. You're going to want your MFR balls and your sock just within reach. So just have all this stuff kind of within reach. We're going to start with the balls first. So just like we were working on the trapezius, we're going to want to come to the back of it. So right above the levator. So if you feel along the back, you might actually physically feel the top of your scapula, that bone. We're going to want to be right above it. So again, if you can't physically feel that, if you pick up this big chunk of the traps, we're coming right to the top of what you can pick up. So that ball is going to be placed right about there. And we're going to do it on both sides of the trapezius. So one way to do this is to come all the way down onto your back and then just kind of roll onto one side, place that ball right in that general vicinity, and then lean to the other side and do the same thing. And if you only have one ball, you can totally do one side and then the other. But for a moment, we're just going to allow the compression to take place. So just allow yourself to settle and to, as much as you can, soften and relax. And if you feel any sharp pain, you might be on a bone or something else. So we really want to be on the tissue, the muscle and the fascia. So maybe just move the ball a little bit until you feel much more nourished rather than any kind of sharp pain. And again, just notice what's happening here in the neck. So if you feel like you're hyperextending your chin forward, can you gently start to tuck your chin inward and try to find this more neutral alignment for the cervical spine and the neck, rather than this almost like super extended with the throat flex upwards, pushing into the spinal discs. So we just want to find that nice even spot between the two, between flexion and extension, between dropping the head back and dropping the head forward. And take one more deep breath here. And then you can just reach back and grab those balls to release them. Set them off to the side and just lay flat onto the floor. Now, if you're on a sticky mat, you might want to place like a hard book underneath your head so you've got some space to be able to glide or maybe be on carpet. But all we're going to do here is think pulling your chin down. Now, I want you to really exaggerate it. Make a double chin. And then slowly release and think pulling the chin up and back. And then making a little double chin. Your head will probably slide up and back. And then glide it back. And then just keep moving between those two. So the motion is actually very small. But you should really feel that in the upper part of the cervical spine, right where it kind of connects and holds your head. And don't be afraid or embarrassed to make that double chin. Really tuck that chin. And then release. And then slowly settle back into stillness. And we're gonna move up into more of the upper cervical again. So we're wanting to find the occiput. So the lower part of the skull right before it turns into your neck. So what we're gonna do here is place the block on its mid setting with this little edge of the block right at the base of the skull. So you'll notice my entire neck is free. So make sure we don't have the block in here pushing on the neck like that. You feel that edge right along where you can feel the actual bone of your skull, the actual bottom part of your head, not any part of the neck or the cervical area. So again, there's nothing underneath my neck or my shoulders. And then allow yourself just to kind of settle in. Feel the head getting heavier. Feel that compression of the back of the skull into that ridge of the block. And again, we also, another thing is just make sure the block is grounded. So we don't want it to be like lifted on an edge and be unstable like this, because once we start moving, if it slides out, that will not be fun. So make sure it's really grounded and firm and stable underneath of you. And then start to soften your shoulders. Maybe without even realizing it, we were tensing and rounding the chest in. Can we let the shoulders melt backwards towards the earth and let the chest just be natural and open? Feel the weight of your head against this block. And then slowly, without lifting your head off the block at all, come all the way over to the right side. And then just notice the orientation of where your nose is in space and come back just a third of the way. You probably feel this first little bulge or a bump in the back of the head, your splenius capitis. So that little bundle of muscle that connects your neck to your head. And this can be a really spot that holds a lot of tension for a lot of people. So just start to gently rock right along that little bump. And as you do so, keep coming back to the sensation of softening the shoulders, letting go of any kind of chest engagement. And maybe even closing the eyes and just focusing on the breath or the sensation of this compression through the area in the back of the head. And then start to just naturally slow that rocking down. Now we're not coming all the way back to center, but we're going to come back maybe a third of the way more to your semi-splenius capitis. So it's a much smaller bundle of muscle, but you might still feel a little tiny like bump sensation there. And just rock right along that ridge. And then slowly bring your head all the way through center. Land there for just a moment. If you felt any kind of tensioning in the upper body, again, just gently let that go. And then let the head feel really heavy. Stay heavy and connected with the block as you come all the way over to the left. And then just come back again a third of that way until you feel that first bundle, your spinaneus capitis. And then gently rock along that little ridge. And this can be a really nice thing to do when you have a tension headache. Just getting that circulation flowing back through the back of the head and into the neck. It's also a really nice, potent acupressure spot for relaxation. So if we're having a really stressful day, this might be nice to come back to. And slowing that down. And again, not coming all the way back through center, but just a third of that way until you find a much smaller little bundle. And then rocking right along that ridge. And then slowing that down and coming back through center. And then from here, as lazily as you can, reach back to remove the block and allow yourself just to lay flat onto the floor. And enjoy that tingly, warming sensation of all the blood flowing back in, rehydrating the tissues. And then you might have to sit up just to transition to this one, but we're going to take the block behind the head again, but this time on its lowest setting, and it's running long ways. So the entire head has a little bit of support. And this is where you're going to want your sock with your MFR balls, because we're going to want to make the MFR balls one unit. So you'll literally just slide them into your sock all the way till they're connected at the bottom, and then tie the remainder of the sock into a knot. So now you've got kind of an MFR ball connection. Now there's two places that you can place this, and really this depends on where it feels more comfortable for you. So after you have your MFR balls in the sock, you can place it right underneath the occiput again, where we just were on the bottom edge of the skull. And that might feel really good for you. Or you can place it kind of right along the middle of the neck. And it's just going to be framing that spine. And that you don't have to really manipulate that. That will just happen naturally as you lay your head into it. So maybe try both spots and then just notice which one feels the best for you. And then allow yourself just to melt into that compression. Take a couple more breaths here. And then however you want to release, you can just pick up your head and slide your props out from underneath of you. You can sit up and slide them out, but then come back to laying flat onto the floor and just notice the shift, maybe more circulation pouring into the back of the neck. And this is so good for rehydrating all of the ligaments, the tendons, the connective tissue, the muscles, which can really help our necks and our shoulders feel a lot better. And then we have just one more technique we're going to use. And this time you're going to want your strap. Now, the strap is going to be, and if you need to roll up to get yourself positioned, feel free. The strap is going to need to be in a loop. So, if you've got your two little metal parts of your buckle, just like you would putting on a woven belt, you'll go underneath both and then back over the furthest one away and under the one that's closest to you. And then really pull as hard as you can on that, so you've got a really good solid loop and your buckle is not going to come undone. And then just roll it away so the buckle is down, so that way when we place it around the head, the buckle is not on the back of the head, which can feel really uncomfortable. But imagine you're putting on like a headband or something, but just like we practiced with the occiput on the block, that's kind of where we're wanting to put the strap now. And then under the ears, so make sure you're not compressing the ears because that can make them really tender as we're here. So just make sure it's right above the ears. And then hold on to that as you slowly lay down. Now from here, just bend your knee, place the ball of the foot on the other end of that strap. And it doesn't matter if we can get the leg totally straight, maybe it stays bent. But what we're wanting to look for here is we're creating a hammock for the head. So our foot is actually our anchor of support. The head is floating in space, pushing into this strap. So you feel a little bit of gentle compression still right along that occiput region. But mostly what we're doing here is tractioning through the cervical spine, giving it that gentle release. So trust in your ability to hold the shape and soften your shoulders and your chest. Maybe even closing the eyes and just bringing your awareness to the sensations of how it feels. Using your breath maybe to help soften and support you. And since we're not really focusing on releasing the hamstrings and the lower body today, it's not necessary to switch sides, but if you know that's going to bug you and you're going to want to even out, I'll let you know when to switch legs. But when you do so, just try to keep the head supported so we can stay in this almost traction-like position. So if you did want to switch legs, all you would do is take your hands, one to each strap, hold on, bring your free foot in, and then just switch. And then once that foot has it as the anchor, you can let go of your strap and once again, just let the head hang in space. And then take 2 more breaths here. And then we'll all reach the hands towards that strap. And then you can either hold on and remove the leg first or remove the head first. If you remove the head first, lift your head up, slide the strap out from underneath of you, and then lower your head with control all the way to the floor. Then bend your knee and slide your strap off. Go ahead and walk your feet out a little bit wider than the hips distance. And just in case that felt anything in the low back, just gently windshield wiper your knees side to side, renourishing the low back and the lumbar region. And then, so our final thing that we're going to do before we head into Shavasana is actually going to be in a prone shape. So just rolling onto your belly. And you can let your arms just kind of be down by your side. Now, think of your pelvis at first and really push your pelvis into the earth. Next, your sternum or your chest area, push that into the earth. Now, just like we practiced in our supine where we were making that double chin, pull your chin down, so you're making that double chin, and then keep that as you lift up the forehead. Keep all of that engagement. Keep tucking the chin, make the double chin, press through the sternum, press through the pelvis, and find that natural plumb line through the cervical spine. And then slowly release down. You can let all of that go and turn the head onto one side if that feels comfortable. And then we're going to do that just one more time. So bringing the forehead back onto the earth, press your pelvis into your mat, press the sternum, tuck the chin, keep all of that as you just lift your forehead a little bit off the floor. Keep tucking the chin, make that double chin. Especially in the beginning, almost over exaggerate it. And then lower down, maybe come onto the other cheek. And then slowly bring your hands next to the body and lazily drape yourself all the way up. And then we're gonna finish in a Shavasana, but I'm gonna invite you to take Shavasana with a neck support. So what we'll do for that is taking our blankets and we're just gonna wanna roll, and it doesn't have to be a super thick roll. It can just be really small, but you're just gonna wanna help create this little cushion for the back of the neck so that when you lay down, your neck is in a nice neutral line with the rest of the spine. So we don't want an overly big roll where it's pushing the head up out of alignment. And we don't want it so small that the chin is lifting upwards, but really find that nice little like Goldilocks spot where the neck just feels nice and neutral in line with the rest of the spine. And again, because the neck and the cervical spine are our focus for today, you can do whatever you want with the legs. You can keep them bent and knock the knees together. You can straighten them out, put a bolster under the knees for some lumbar release. Just feel that support throughout your neck. And if you want a little bit more, it can be nice to grab the outer edges of your blanket and roll them underneath up towards the head. And that's just going to kind of give you this little cocooning throughout the sides of the neck. So then your whole neck feels really supported with this outside structural integrity, giving you this support. But that's just another level, just an option if you want it. And so I'll invite you to just hang out here with this neck support. So you can just let yourself be really passive, yet still have this structural integrity throughout the cervical spine, giving all of the muscles that release and that time to relax, as they have to literally hold our head up all day long. They can take on so much pressure. Just allow yourself to feel heavy and relaxed here in this supported Shavasana. you have more time where you can stay, I invite you to really enjoy the Shavasana and stay where you are. But if it is time to move on with your day, slowly start to add in gentle movement just to reawaken your body. And whenever you're ready, just rolling over to whatever side of your body feels like it's going to be the most nourishing. And then using your arm that's on top, gently placing it in front of your chest onto the floor, and then use that to press yourself up, coming back into a seated position. And I'll just finish with one more round of very gentle neck rolls. And just see if you can't notice a shift from where you started to where you're ending your practice, specifically in the cervical area. I hope you feel more nourished and relaxed and a little less tension in the neck and the upper shoulders. If this is an area of pain or an area that you feel a lot of tension, continue to practice these techniques so you can rehydrate and nourish the area. Until next time, be well.